Yeah, not gonna lie, this movie was pretty damn heavy. But yeah, Detroit is a movie I didn't know too much about. I saw the trailers and yeah, the trailers were very good and I was intrigued for it. So I saw an early screening last night, at least early in the UK. I know it came out in the US on like the 4th of August, but here it doesn't come out until the 25th, but I got an unlimited screening of it. So I did manage to watch Detroit last night. And I was looking forward to it because I liked the trailers. I didn't really know much about the Detroit riots going in, but you don't really have to. The movie starts off a bit weirdly. I didn't really like the very opening sequence because it didn't make sense to the rest of the overall film. There's like an animated segment that describes, the segregation of blacks in Detroit and where they're living and everything, and it's like, okay, this isn't really needed, especially in animated form. It doesn't make too much sense. We could have just had it in form of text if you really wanted to do that. But it doesn't last for very long. It only lasts for a couple of minutes, and it doesn't take you out of the rest of the movie once that's over with. So I wasn't too bothered by it. But it did seem like a weird, bizarre choice. Different though, quite unique. So I won't bash it too much. Anyway, so the movie starts off, and we're thrown straight into these riots. Things are going down, and the rest of the movie pretty much takes place in the Algiers Motel, which is where the police are heading to because they hear a gunshot from the window. Turns out it's not actually a real gun. Jason Mitchell, who plays Eazy-E, fires his fake gun to sort of like annoy the police and make them think they're going to be shot at because he wants to teach them a lesson, but obviously that really backfires. So the police, headed up by Will Poulter, who I was very surprised at in this film. I like Will Poulter. He's a great actor. I love the film Son of Rambo. With the Millers, he's in that, and he's in Narnia films. So I know the actor, but I've never seen him like this. He's a pretty scary dude when you get down to it, and it's very unexpected because he looks young. I watched the trailer and I saw him in the trailer, and I was like, I can't see this working. It works. It really does. He plays a very realistic racist. I've heard people say it before, and I'll say it now. There is something he does towards the beginning of the film that's very sort of, it's brutal, and it really, it has high stakes for him, and you expect things to happen with that, and then nothing really does. I mean, they go back to it, something else happens with his character, and they go back to this one thing he did, but there isn't really any consequences for it whatsoever. And I guess, if it's accurate to the true story, then maybe it did happen this way. It just felt a bit odd to show us all this stuff and then just have no consequences for it. Anyway, John Boyega's also in this movie as a security guard. At first, he's just guarding this grocery store because the riots are happening. People are smashing in these stores, so he's guarding them to make sure nothing happens to this store. But then he hears these gunshots go down, so he goes and joins the police at this motel. And it's good because you can see, like, the sort of between John Boyega's character and Will Poulter's character, they're both, on completely sort of different sides, but at the same time, they have to look out for each other. So John Boyega's seeing Will Poulter's character. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't really know the names of the people in this film, so I'll just call them by their actors' names. But he sees him treating these people, he has all these people lined up, lots of black guys and then two white girls. So he's got them all lined up and he's treating them like absolute shit, He's a terrible guy. But then John Boyega's there and he's sort of like, you can see he's uncomfortable. So in the film, you're basically in John Boyega's shoes. You're uncomfortable watching all this go down. But when you think about John Boyega's character, what can he do? Because he's on the side of the police force. He's not on the side of these criminals. But at the same time, he doesn't want to see this stuff happening. So it's quite interesting to see both sides of the story. It basically is told through two different characters' eyes, and then there's this character called Larry who's in a band. He gets caught up in this whole mess. And Hannah Murray's in this film from Skins and Game of Thrones. She's really good in this film. She's got a friend. I don't know who the friend is, but they're both really good. They're just caught up in it. So all these people, they don't really know why they're there. It's just this one thing that happened, and because the police force is so corrupt, they're just caught in it, and you really do feel bad for these people that aren't involved in what's going on. And every performance in this film is so good. John Boyega, I love him. Star Wars, Attack the Block, I've always loved him. He's a great actor, and in this film he kills it. He gives a really good performance, and like I said, Will Poulter really knocks it out of the park. Some of the unknown actors, they might be known, I don't really know, but I don't know who they are personally. They all did a really good job. There's not a single person in this film that I could single out and say that's a bad actor. Even Jack Rayner from Free Fire and Sing Street is in this film. He doesn't have a big part, but he's really good. He has an important part nonetheless. So everyone in this film, I thought, really did give their A game. And it's a very hard to watch film. It's a very emotional, hard to watch film. And there are times when I felt so uncomfortable watching it. I was sort of sat near the front of the cinema and I would look around and I'd just see people wincing and it'd be like, yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling right now. It really does throw you in, and it really is a film that captivates you from the very beginning. It just shows there are a lot of films that deal with police corruption and police brutality, especially towards black people in this time period. And this film could have been another one of those films and just been, a complete copy of something we'd seen before. But what this film does well is it's so intense, and it's so, it's tension. It builds up and builds up and builds up. And when the payoff happens, it really happens. So yeah, a lot of films do deal with police corruption, but this one did it in that way that sort of feels fresh and feels different and just feels, it feels like something that you haven't seen, and it feels like something, you're uncomfortable to watch. But at the same time, it just, it will make you feel something. And if it doesn't, then you're probably made of stone. Because in the end, Detroit is a movie that I really, really liked. It's probably one of the better films I've seen this side of the year. I don't know how many times I could go back and rewatch it. I don't know if it has a rewatchability value because of the fact that it's so heavy. Kind of like Dunkirk. I mean, I like this film more than Dunkirk. The thing with Dunkirk is I don't think I could rewatch it because it's so heavy. But at the same time, I found Dunkirk a little boring. And with Detroit, I was never bored watching it. I was always engrossed in what was happening on the screen. It's one of those movies where you look at it through different characters' points of views. It shows you all these different characters. You see what they're going through. Mainly Will Poulter and John Boyega, but there are other characters in this that you really do, you feel the emotion for, and you feel that their story is worth telling. So in the end, Detroit is a movie I really liked. I'm very glad I got to see it early. I recommend when it does come out officially, people do go and watch it because it's something that I feel like it's a story that people should see. And at the end of the day, it's a long film, it really is. But there is a time when I thought the movie was going to end and it didn't, and I was thinking, oh, this movie's a lot longer than I thought. But then when the movie goes into the scenes that I did, like after I thought it was the ending, when it goes into these other scenes, I was like, oh yeah, this is actually necessary to tell us, so it never dragged either. So yeah, I really like Detroit. Let me know what you think of Detroit if you've seen it, or when you do see it, comment below. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.